As you probably know by now, a wild storm known as a derecho pummeled the Houston area last week. The widespread, long-lived straight-line storm still has that area trying to pick up the pieces. This is footage from downtown Houston where glass was strewn across the streets there. And many communities around the country are grappling with the aftermath of severe weather that we've been hearing from Dr. Jim Siebert all month of May. We do want to prioritize emergency preparedness in light of the upcoming hurricane season as well, especially for those who rely on medication. So joining us now is Dr. Shawn Rowland, founder of Jase Medical, and Art De La Cruz, CEO of Team Rubicon. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us this morning. We appreciate it. It's such an important topic this time of year.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. Well, Dr. Rowland, let's start with you. In your opinion, what are the 5 most important things that we need to do to prepare for ahead of a storm?
Well, first of all, I think it's don't get overwhelmed, just first and foremost, before we even list 5. And it's so easy to get overwhelmed with all the possibilities with preparedness. But if we look at some of the less known things that aren't talked about as often, things like a comprehensive communication plan, things like medical records in a hard copy format, medication supply. You've also got copies of other important documents. And then to round it out, expanding your network.
And Art, what about you? What would you add to that?
Yeah, you know, as an organization that helps communities before, during, and after crises and natural disasters, you know, I'd echo what Dr. Rowland said, but the things that I'd recommend you do is, number one, put your family in a position where you can say you're glad you did instead of you wish you had. And a couple of quick pointers from us is, you know, number one is be prepared to monitor the storm. There are all sorts of amazing resources from social media to the National Hurricane Center that will give you concise and accurate information about the storm that's coming. As part of the preparation, planning is a really important part. Make sure that you understand evacuation routes, what you're going to do. You have points of contact, and people outside of your immediate family understand your plan because, again, they'll be incredible allies. A lot of the preparation, a lot of the damage we see and that we help with after disasters could be mitigated by actually preparing your home in the months ahead. Doing things like clearing out swales in front of your house to make sure water can drain, taking a look at your roof and understanding what types of, you know, branches might fall and puncture your roof are really, really important. And finally, disaster kit planning for your family, for your pets, making sure you have food, non-perishable food, as well as water is ready to go. And then the final thing I'd recommend is being ready for the long tail of recovery that happens after a hurricane. Having all of the papers and documents in a way that they're secured during the storm, you know, a simple act like wrapping them in plastic and making sure they're stored properly or making them part of your evacuation kit is incredibly important in speeding your recovery after the disaster strikes.
Great points, Art. And you have to think before, during, and after. And generally, the after is the longest part of the situation. You can be without power for weeks, the cleanup, the road closures and whatnot. I would like to talk to you, Dr. Rowland, about medications, specifically preparing for those. You know, you need to secure them safely, obviously, but a lot of people wonder, should I stock up? Should I have, say, a month's supply in advance in case a hurricane or a storm blows through? What do you say to that?
Well, I say absolutely. If you look at the different government agencies that have plans and suggestions, there's always a mention on there about being prepared with your medications, having an extended supply on hand. It's why we exist, actually, is to enable that process, help patients with that process so that they can get not just medications that they take on a daily basis, like things for high blood pressure, anxiety disorders, seizure disorders, whatever that medication is, but also for medications that are going to become a lot more important in an emergency situation where the health system might be overrun, where you might have quick access to things like antibiotics, antifungals, things where in a disaster scenario, a cut that becomes infected can become a lot more serious a lot quickly than it would in your regular day-to-day life where you have the convenience and time to go get that taken care of. And so, yes, we highly encourage everyone to get emergency medications, a supply of those on hand, as well as the particular medications they might need for whatever their chronic diseases might be.
Yes, it makes sense. And Art, also speak to the fact that we're not just looking after ourselves, but we may have our parents, we may have seniors that we're caring for, and there's limited transportation, limited access to things. So how can we help them prepare as well and also be on the ready to be able to assist?
Yeah, I think, neighbors help neighbors. We're all part of a team. So if you have family in that area, those 6 points that I recommended, I'd make sure that you review them with them. Have proactive plans during what is likely to be, it's actually the worst forecasted hurricane season ever, is make sure that, those preparations are done in advance and be very, very proactive. You don't want to wait till the last minute to execute these plans. Again, put yourself in a position where you can say, I'm glad as a family that we made this decision, instead of in retrospect saying that you wish you had. Proactiveness is incredibly important in a time like this.
Indeed. And what about some resources to reach out to, post-storm, if you find yourself just in a really tough situation and you need help? I mean, obviously, Team Rubicon, you guys do incredible work out there in recovery work and whatnot, but who should people call if they are in need of assistance?
Yeah, TeamRubiconUSA.org is a great resource, but at a local level, at a national level, from FEMA to your emergency managers, to the people that are going to guide you during the storm, law enforcement, emergency managers, all of these evacuation routes, start that communication plan early, let them know where you are. And if in duress, again, use those emergency services such as 911 to understand, so people understand where you're at. Again, the best thing you can do, though, is to put yourself in a situation where you are outside of that that storm track and the potential damage.
Yes, exactly. Move early and prepare as best as you can, and just be mindful of all of it. Thank you, Dr. Shawn Rowland, founder of Jase Medical, and Art De La Cruz, CEO of Team Rubicon. We appreciate you, gentlemen. Fanchon?
Such important information for all of us. Gentlemen, thank you once again.